A woman from an ordinary civil servant family in Dalian married a national team soccer player, basked in the glamour of being a footballer's wife, then turned around and became the sugar mama of a young, handsome Olympic champion. From there, she crafted an elaborate facade as the daughter of high-ranking Beijing officials, casually name-dropping connections to government ministries, and with just a few phone calls, she had countless people completely fooled. Behind the designer handbags, luxury cars, and lavish parties lay an intricately staged con so sophisticated that even the person who loved her most never saw it coming. Today, we're going to talk about Wang, a woman who tried to use marriage, athletic glory, and a mask of political connections to climb to the top of society, only to ultimately push herself down a path of no return. Wang was born in 1981 in Dalian City, Liaoning Province. She came from an ordinary working-class family, nothing particularly special. Her father worked as an electrical installer, while her mother held a stable position at a local bank. While they couldn't be called wealthy, by the economic standards of the 1980s to 90s China, their income was quite respectable, enough to raise their only child in comfort without want. As the sole child in the family, Wang naturally became the center of all attention and affection. Her parents spoiled her completely. Whatever she wanted, she got. She never experienced the feeling of lacking something or being denied. This give-her-everything parenting style gradually shaped Wang exceptionally confident personality. More importantly, it quietly planted a deep-seated belief in her psyche. She was born deserving the best things in life, the most luxurious experiences. Wang wasn't actually useless or lazy. Quite the opposite. She excelled academically. From elementary school through high school, her grades consistently ranked at the top of her class in school. With such capabilities, she smoothly gained admission to Dongbei University of Finance and Economics, one of the region's most prestigious institutions. But the story doesn't end there. Wang parents always hoped their daughter would have an even brighter, more expansive future. So after she graduated from university, they made the significant decision to spend a considerable sum sending her to study abroad in Ireland. This was a pivotal moment, a major turning point in her life. This overseas experience completely transformed Wang worldview and life trajectory. The environment there was entirely different from what she'd known in Dalian. The cost of living in Western countries was astronomically high, many times greater than in China at that time. But what truly stunned her was the lifestyle of the other international students around her. Most of her fellow students came from extremely wealthy families, and their spending habits were simply beyond what ordinary people could imagine. These rich classmates opened Wang eyes in a powerful way. She witnessed firsthand what true upper-class living really looked like. She watched them spend money freely, shop for luxury goods, travel across Europe every holiday, dine at high-end restaurants where a single meal cost more than her entire monthly living allowance. All of this swept through the mind of a young woman who had already been raised with excessive confidence. The seed of desire that had always existed within Wang was now being watered. It began to grow at a dizzying pace, almost beyond control. The harsh reality was that the tuition and living expenses her parents sent each month, forget about achieving her dream of living like her wealthy friends, were barely enough to maintain basic spending. The gap between reality and her aspirations grew wider by the day, forcing Wang to think seriously about her future. After many sleepless nights of calculation, a clear goal gradually formed and solidified in her mind. The fastest and surest path to her dream life was to find a wealthy man to attach herself to. She had to marry someone with money and status, and from there, rise to society's upper echelons. This wasn't a passing thought. It was a life plan she had mapped out with crystal clarity. Fortunately, Wang wasn't completely without assets to execute this plan. She possessed a fairly attractive face, not stunning, but the kind of pleasant beauty that's easy on the eyes. Moreover, she knew how to speak cleverly and conduct herself appropriately. Add to that her domestic university degree and current study abroad experience in Ireland, and she had decent credentials. Wang was particularly skilled at crafting the image of an educated girl from a respectable family, exactly the type that potential future husbands typically sought. and it seemed fate wanted to help Wang Ti execute her plan. Shortly after, destiny placed before her a perfect stepping stone, a man named Wang Sheng. At that time, he was a well-known name in Chinese football. Wang Sheng played defender for Dalian Shide FC and had been called up to the national team. He was young, handsome, with an athlete's masculine appeal, and most importantly, his career was in a phase of explosive growth, earning over 1 million yuan annually, roughly 140,000 US dollars. In China's economic context of the early 2000s, this was a truly enormous sum. Their fateful meeting occurred at a gathering for overseas students returning home. In that relaxed, cheerful atmosphere, they began chatting, and fortunately, they hit it off from their very first conversation. Wang Ti, with her sharp communication skills, easily and naturally captured the attention of this tough man from the soccer field. In the following period, Wang Ti launched an extremely clever and effective romantic offensive. She displayed all the gentlest, most feminine, most understanding aspects of a woman. She didn't just express admiration for Wang Sheng's football skills and praise his beautiful plays, she also showed genuine concern for his health issues, always appearing understanding and empathetic about the difficulties he faced in his career. As for Wang Sheng, he was the typical athlete who had devoted nearly his entire youth to football. How could a man like Wang Sheng have ever experienced a woman caring for him, nurturing him, and cherishing him the way Wang Ti did? This was completely new to him. Wang Ti's appearance in his life was like a warm spring breeze, bringing feelings of being loved, understood, and treasured. Wang Sheng's feelings for Wang Ti weren't just surface attraction, they were a deep longing for a genuine relationship, for a woman who could stand by his side and share his life. Gradually, Wang Ti's image became deeply embedded in his heart, occupying an irreplaceable position. And so, they fell in love. Not long after Wang Ti completed her studies abroad and returned to China, they officially held their wedding. That year, Wang Ti had just turned 22, still very young, but she had accomplished the major goals she'd set for herself with almost unbelievable ease. In a short span of time, her fate had changed dramatically. From a girl from an ordinary working-class family with nothing particularly notable about her, she had suddenly vaulted to become the wife of a national team footballer, a position that thousands of other girls could only dream of. Married life after the wedding actually exceeded everything Wang Ti had imagined and dreamed of. Wang Sheng doted on her completely. At that time, Wang Sheng was at the peak of his career, an indispensable pillar of Dalian Shide. His salary was extremely attractive. His weekly wage alone reached 40,000 yuan, about 5,600 US dollars, not counting other bonuses. And at the end of each season, if the team performed well, he received massive bonuses exceeding 1 million yuan, around 140,000 US dollars. All told, Wang Sheng's annual income was a figure that the vast majority of Chinese workers at that time wouldn't dare dream of. Wang Sheng was a simple, honest man, without complex calculations in his head. To him, his wife was the person he loved and trusted most, so he handed over complete control of the family finances to her. Not only that, Wang Sheng told Wang Ti, "Darling, you don't need to work, just stay home and relax. My job is to go out and earn money, and your job is to spend it all." Once, Wang Ti spotted a Hermes handbag at a high-end boutique in Beijing, priced at over 100,000 yuan, roughly 14,000 US dollars. For most people, this was an unthinkable luxury item, but Wang Sheng didn't even need to think or hesitate. The moment he noticed his wife's gaze lingering on that bag a bit longer than usual, he immediately pulled out his card and swiped it without a second thought. Of course, not everyone agreed with how Wang Sheng treated his wife. Quite a few close friends, out of genuine concern and care, advised him to be more careful. They suggested he should keep some money for himself and not let his wife control everything. But Wang Sheng not only ignored their advice, he was actually displeased with his friend's interference. In his mind, this was exactly how true love should be expressed. This was the attitude a good man should have toward his wife. What was the point of money, if not to spend it on loved ones? This absolute trust, though born from Wang Sheng's sincere love, inadvertently became a catalyst, that made Wang Ti increasingly confident, overconfident, one might say. She began to feel like she was flying high in this endless pampering. Having grown accustomed to spending money freely without a care, she gradually forgot that everything she had was thanks to her husband's hard work. Following Wang Sheng, Wang Ti quickly integrated into an entirely new world, the so-called Circle of Footballers' Wives. This was an exclusive group of players' wives, each naturally enjoying comfortable financial circumstances. But life in this circle wasn't simply about dining and socializing. They didn't just compare whose husband played better, scored more goals, or received more media praise. They also competed over who dressed most fashionably, who owned the most limited edition designer bags, who wore the most expensive diamond watches, who drove the fanciest cars. With her naturally good taste combined with the abundant finances from her husband, Wang Ti had no trouble ranking near the top in this unspoken competition. She appeared at gatherings in designer outfits, carrying bags others hadn't yet acquired, wearing limited edition shoes. Before long, she had become the center of attention, the most noticed person in that circle of wives. Her reputation even spread beyond that small circle. Some fashion and lifestyle magazines began noticing Wang Ti, bestowing upon her a title she was extremely proud of: Best Dressed Wife in Entertainment and Sports. All of this satisfied Wang Ti's vanity to a degree she had never thought possible. But there was something Wang Ti didn't realize, or perhaps deliberately chose not to think about. Every gift that fate bestows actually comes with a price tag attached from the start. Nothing is free. The edifice of marriage built on a foundation of money and indulgence was already showing its first cracks. The good married life lasted only a few years before everything began to change. As Wang Sheng's career became increasingly successful and he became more valued by his team, he also became much busier. Going a week without coming home even once became normal, and at certain times, Wang Ti wouldn't see her husband's face for an entire month. Then, to advance his career further, Wang Sheng accepted a transfer to play for another team in Wuhan. The geographical distance now truly separated them, each in a different place over 600 miles apart. Her husband was now on a distant football field. All he could give her were brief phone calls and, of course, the money that kept flowing into her bank account. Materially, Wang Ti still lacked nothing. But emotionally, Wang Ti remained alone in their spacious mansion, facing a closet full of designer bags she had once dreamed of owning. But now, looking at those luxury items, she only felt lonely. Wang Ti began feeling resentful of this marriage. However, she also had practical calculations running through her mind. A husband like Wang Sheng was truly rare. Leaving him would be wasteful, regrettable. So despite her unhappiness, she hadn't yet considered divorce. But then 2008 arrived, and that was the year that truly pushed this marriage into the abyss. That year, Wang Sheng unfortunately suffered an injury, encountered various transfer problems, and his career hit a major setback. Unable to play for a long time, his income naturally dropped sharply. The glorious life of earning over $1,000,000 a year was gone, and not coming back. The man who could once throw money at Wang Ti now struggled even to maintain their previous spending level. The moment the wallet tightened, Wang Ti had no lingering attachment to this already cold marriage. She didn't immediately demand a divorce. After all, there was a child to consider and it wouldn't look good, but her heart had already flown elsewhere. Wang Ti frequently appeared at high-end cocktail parties and various social gatherings in Beijing, always searching for a new harbor for herself. In October of that year, opportunity arrived. Wang Ti and her husband Wang Sheng attended the wedding of Olympic gymnastics champion Xing Aowei. It was at this star-studded reception that she met the man who would make her completely lose control, Xiao Qin. At that moment, Xiao Qin was at the peak of his fame. He had just created a miracle at the 2008 Beijing Olympics held on home soil, winning 2 gold medals. Wearing the crown of Olympic champion, young and good-looking, Xiao Qin easily became the center of attention at that reception. Wang Ti spotted him the moment she walked into the hall, and with just that one glance, the fire inside her blazed fiercely. This wasn't the ordinary admiration of a fan, but something far more intense. Craving, desire, and calculation. She knew immediately that this was the opportunity she had been searching for. Wasting no time, Wang Ti proactively approached Xiaoqin. She didn't act like the other young fans, pushing and shoving for autographs or photos, but approached him quite differently. Relaxed, confident, as if they were old friends coincidentally reuniting. She struck up conversation naturally, and Xiaoqin, in a relaxed and happy mood, was willing to chat. They talked about sports. Wang Ti demonstrated fairly deep knowledge of competitive events, not the superficial kind. They discussed fashion. She shared perspectives on new trends and high-end brands with genuine expertise. They talked about life, about the pressures of fame, about the difficulties of living in the spotlight. In just a few exchanges, Wang Ti had skillfully painted a portrait of herself. A girl from a wealthy family, with a good background, with doors wide open before her, mysterious and attractive. During the conversation, she also, accidentally, but very intentionally, mentioned that she was the wife of Wang, a national team footballer. This let Xiaoqin know she wasn't a nobody. But more importantly, through her words and tone, she clearly revealed her weariness and dissatisfaction with her current marriage. Xiaoqin looked at the woman before him and felt strongly attracted. She wasn't the type of young, naive girl he usually encountered. This was a mature woman, beautiful in a sophisticated, alluring way. The way she dressed, the way she spoke, the way she spent money without hesitation, everything exuded the air of someone who had lived in comfortable circumstances. For a young man like Xiaoqin, this was simply fatal attraction. Moreover, Wang Ti was well-versed in everything about the sports world. This made Xiaoqin feel very comfortable, very familiar. He didn't need to explain much, didn't need to feel awkward about his profession as he might when talking to outsiders. When the wedding ended and everyone began leaving, Xiaoqin proactively asked for Wang Ti's phone number. And she, of course, gave it to him. From then on, Xiaoqin constantly texted and called Wang Ti. They began meeting frequently, and with remarkable speed, they crossed the final boundary, officially becoming secret lovers. Wang Ti used her national team footballer husband's money to rent a luxury apartment in central Beijing as a secret love nest for her and Xiaoqin. A luxurious apartment with every amenity, where they could meet without fear of discovery. To keep her young lover hooked, Wang Ti spent money without hesitation or thought. If Xiaoqin casually mentioned that some watch looked nice, the next day that watch would be carefully wrapped and delivered to him as a surprise gift. If Xiaoqin happened to compliment a car's design, Wang Ti would immediately go buy it. Not one car, but two, a Land Rover priced at 1.58 million yuan, about 220,000 USD, and a BMW Z4. She even specially purchased a red BMW X6, the exact model Xiaoqin was endorsing in advertisements. She bought it just to make him happy. All told, during their time together, Wang Ti spent nearly 6 million yuan, roughly 840,000 US dollars, including both cash and expensive gifts. In Xiaoqin's eyes at that time, Wang Ti was simply a perfect woman. She had plenty of money and a good family background. And most importantly, she was devoted to him, willing to do anything to please him. But there was something Xiaoqin completely failed to consider, or perhaps deliberately chose not to. Where did all those luxury cars, expensive watches, and enormous sums of cash come from? Every yuan Wang Ti spent on her lover was the hard work of a husband being betrayed by his wife. But how long can paper wrap fire? With Wang Ti spending so lavishly, with enormous sums constantly disappearing from accounts, Wang Sheng on the other side, no matter how busy, began to notice something was wrong. As large sums kept vanishing, he gradually discovered clues about his wife's affair. When Wang Sheng held solid evidence in his hands, he completely broke down. It wasn't just emotional pain, but the shock of realizing how severely his personal finances had been damaged. The money he had painstakingly accumulated over years of playing was now nearly gone, spent by his wife on her lover. In his rage and hurt, Wang Sheng demanded an immediate divorce. And Wang Ti? She agreed without the slightest hesitation. This was actually what she had wanted for a long time. For her love with Xiaoqin, She was willing to give up custody of their child. She chose to leave the marriage empty-handed, taking nothing but her designer clothes and handbags. But here's where serious problems began. Leaving Wang Sheng, her long-term meal ticket and stable financial source, meant Wang Ti lost her income. But her extravagant lifestyle and spending like water had become habits she couldn't break. How could she continue maintaining that life? How could she keep supporting her handsome young lover and keep him by her side? This became an urgent problem Wang Ti needed to solve immediately. To keep Xiaoqin and continue playing the role of a wealthy, well-connected woman, Wang Ti began thinking. And a crazy, bold, unbelievably audacious idea gradually formed in her mind. From this idea, a massive fraud scheme about to sweep through China's entire sports world officially began. First, using her relationship with Xiaoqin, Wang Ti began attending events and parties, and from there, befriended numerous influential figures in the sports world. But being just an Olympic champion's girlfriend wasn't enough. Wang Ti started constructing a second layer of disguise for herself. She began spreading rumors that her biological mother was a high-ranking official in the financial system, and her stepfather was a ministry-level leader at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development, among those wielding real power in the government apparatus. This fabricated identity was carefully calculated by Wang Ti. It hit exactly on the psychology of people in the sports world, Xiaoqin's colleagues and friends. Moreover, it touched on a prevalent belief in Chinese society at that time. The belief that having connections, having acquaintances in high places, meant you could do anything, that any door could be opened. This was the weakness Wang Ti would exploit thoroughly. To make this fabricated story sound more believable, Wang Ti sought out a friend named Zhu Shuangshuang for help. Zhu worked in the entertainment business, knew many people, and had various complex connections. Wang Ti gave him a substantial sum of money, and in return, Zhu used his channels and connections to create a complete set of props for Wang Ti's official's daughter persona. What did this prop kit include? First, a work ID card from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development that looked completely authentic. Next, business cards of her stepfather, clearly printed with a high-level leadership position, not some minor official. And most sophisticated were several photos of Wang Ti standing next to various high-ranking leaders, all products of Photoshop, of course, skillfully edited to the point where real and fake were nearly indistinguishable. Whenever she went networking, attending parties, meeting new friends, Wang Ti would find ways to accidentally reveal these items. While showing them, she would casually tell stories about her childhood, how she had lived in the ministry's residential compound as a child, how she had been doted on by various leader uncles, what special privileges life in that powerful environment had provided. It must be acknowledged that Wang Ti's performance reached an Oscar-worthy level. She told stories naturally, her tone light, her attitude modest, as if nothing were a big deal. It was this very naturalness that eliminated suspicion. Anyone who met her, heard her stories, and saw the evidence she presented believed it was all true. However, Wang Ti understood that props alone weren't safe enough. She also needed someone who could stand up and verify her identity. Someone whose presence beside her would make everyone believe she truly was from a powerful family as she claimed. And who could that be other than Xiaoqin? Her lover, the currently famous Olympic champion. Wang Ti began bringing Xiaoqin along with her, frequently appearing at high-end gatherings in the sports world. With him by her side, she was like a tiger with wings. At these gatherings, she proactively introduced Xiaoqin to her contacts: gymnastics champions Yang Wei and his wife Yang Yun, swimming champion Luo Shuizhuan, and numerous other famous faces in Chinese sports. Xiaoqin's presence beside Wang Ti had an extremely powerful effect. The halo of an Olympic champion, someone who had just brought glory to the nation at the home Olympics, was like an official seal stamped on the official's daughter identity Wang Ti had created. People saw her with Xiaoqin and naturally believed she must have real connections. How could an Olympic champion be dating and in love with an ordinary person? Wang Ti's credibility exploded. At dinner tables and parties, Wang Ti always appeared generous and loyal. She would pat her chest and tell everyone in a friendly tone, "We're all family here. If you need help with anything in Beijing, just say the word. Kids need to get into a good school? Just ask. Buying a car and need to get a good license plate number? Easy. Just find my father. One word and it's all taken care of. These promises sounded so appealing, so believable, especially coming from someone who appeared to have everything. But Wang Ti didn't just talk. To further build trust and tighten relationships, she occasionally scattered small favors, helping this person or that with specific tasks. For instance, she heard that a friend of Yang Wei's was losing sleep worrying about finding parking in central Beijing. Wang Ti immediately stepped up to take on the task. Let me handle it. And indeed, just a few days later, she had helped the person secure parking at a surprisingly cheap price. Another time, she heard that some minor star wanted to land an advertising contract, so she volunteered to pull some strings and eventually succeeded. Actually, these tasks didn't cost Wang Ti much money. Some she simply accomplished through normal channels or by asking favors through ordinary connections that had nothing to do with official parents. But through the way Wang Ti retold and packaged these stories, they all became living proof that her family had sky-reaching power and could get anything done. Gradually, people in her social circle began viewing Wang Ti as a truly omnipotent figure. In their eyes, this woman had everything: a famous Olympic champion boyfriend, parents who were high-ranking officials wielding real power, a solid family foundation, capable of doing anything. Moreover, she was loyal and willing to help friends in need. A person like that, who wouldn't want to befriend her, who wouldn't want to maintain good relations? But everyone admiring and trusting Wang Ti had no idea that everything they were seeing was carefully calculated bait. The small favors, the promises, even the official's daughter identity, all of it was a trap, and Wang Ti was patiently waiting to reel in the truly big fish. Everything was prepared. Now she just needed a perfect project to begin harvesting. And that opportunity arrived around 2009. At that time, there was a high-end real estate development in Beijing called Swan Bay that was unbelievably hot. The project had a prime location, top-tier construction quality, with average prices reaching tens of thousands of yuan per square meter. But what made it especially attractive wasn't just the quality, it was the scarcity. Supply was limited, demand was high, and people with money lined up endlessly without being able to buy. All of Beijing seemed to be going crazy over this project. Everyone wanted to own a unit, but the chances were almost zero. Wang Ti saw this phenomenon and immediately recognized her opportunity had arrived. She began spreading information through her friend circle, her tone still light and natural as always. "Oh, lately so many friends have been asking me to help them buy at Swan Bay. Good thing my father's department is partnering with the developer on this project, so they've held back some internal inventory, not for public sale. The price is definitely cheaper than market, around 70% of the listed price. But the quantity is limited, mainly reserved for ministry insiders. I can only secure a few units for my closest friends." The moment this information dropped, Wang Ti's entire friend circle exploded. Buying units at Beijing's hottest development for only 70% of the price? This was like gold falling from the sky. At a time when the whole city was fighting over every purchase slot without success, suddenly someone says they can help buy at 30% below market price? Who wouldn't want that? In no time, Wang Ti's phone was ringing off the hook. Everyone wanted her help. The first person to fall into the trap was Yang Yun, the person with the closest relationship to Wang Ti in the friend group. At that time, Yang Yun and her husband Yang Wei had just gotten married and needed to buy a home to settle their family life. Hearing Wang Ti talk about internal purchase slots at such great prices, Yang Yun was immediately interested. To completely reassure Yang Yun and eliminate any doubts, Wang Ti decided to put on an Oscar-worthy performance. First, Wang Ti demonstrated her generosity by gifting Yang Yun a blue mini sedan, saying it was a belated wedding gift to celebrate their happiness and show their sisterly bond. Next, right in front of Yang Yun, Wang Ti pulled out her phone and made a call. Someone answered on the other end. Of course, no one knew who it actually was. It could have been a prearranged accomplice or even a number with no one listening. Wang Ti used a soft voice, slightly pouty like a beloved daughter talking to her father. Daddy, I have my closest friend here. That's Yang Wei's wife, Yang Yun. She wants to reserve a unit at Swan Bay. Remember to save a nice floor for me, okay? The moment the call ended, Wang Ti turned to Yang Yun with an expression of casual ease, as if she'd just finished some trivial task. All done. My dad agreed. Don't worry, I've reserved the best unit for you, but we need to move fast. Transfer the money to me soon so I can report upstairs and lock in your slot. The whole sequence of operations flowed smooth as silk, without any stumble or hesitation. Yang Yun stood there, witnessed everything, and was completely convinced. She had no reason to doubt. This woman had just given her an entire car, had just called her father right in front of her. What could be more real? And so, Yang Yun and Yang Wei transferred nearly 5 million yuan, roughly $700,000 for the home purchase into the personal account Wang Ti specified. An enormous sum, the fruit of years of competition for the champion couple, just like that fell into the hands of a con artist. With Yang Yun, wife of Olympic champion Yang Wei, as her first customer, Wang Ti gained an extremely effective living advertisement. She could tell others, even Yang Wei and his wife bought through me. What are you worried about? And who wouldn't believe that? From there, Wang Ti's fraud grew larger and larger. It didn't stop within sports circles, but spread into entertainment as well. The list of victims grew longer with famous names. Swimming champion Luo Suihuan was defrauded of 3.3 million yuan, about $460,000. The mother of gymnastics champion Zhu Kai lost 1.57 million yuan, roughly $220,000. Rising actress Wang Likun also lost nearly 2 million yuan, about $280,000 to Wang Ti. And the most ironic part? Even Zhu Shuang, the very person who had helped Wang Ti create the fake documents and evidence initially, couldn't escape her hands. This time Wang Ti used a different scheme, luring him with the opportunity to buy luxury cars at super cheap prices. And Zhu Shuang, despite knowing exactly what kind of person Wang Ti was, still got scammed out of over 1 million yuan. In just over 2 years, a total of 27 celebrities fell into Wang Ti's trap. The total amount defrauded reached a staggering figure, 58 million yuan, over $8 million. To make her performance more realistic and convincing, Wang Ti didn't hesitate to rent several luxury villas. Whenever any customer wanted to see the property before deciding, she would readily take them for an actual tour of these villas, as if these were the very units they were about to own. She even prepared a set of professional-looking purchase contracts, complete with bright red official stamps, fake, of course, carved by sidewalk sign-making services. Actually, each time she received another large sum from a new victim, Wang Ti's risk increased by another degree. She knew this clearly, but by this point she couldn't stop anymore. Money kept flooding into her accounts and she just kept scamming, kept collecting, as if tomorrow would never come. Where did this enormous sum go? Every penny was squandered by Wang Ti and Xiao Qin without mercy. Xiao Qin lived like a true prince. At his peak, he had 5 luxury cars registered under his name, with a total value of 7 million yuan, nearly $1 million. On top of that, he confidently took 12 million yuan, about $1.7 million, to invest in some project, only to lose it all, not recovering a single cent. According to accounts, in the villa where they lived, there was always a large basket sitting in a corner of the room year-round. Inside that basket were millions of yuan in cash. Whenever they needed to spend on anything, they would just reach in and grab it, as casually as taking candy from a jar. And the leftover money? It was thrown into casinos with an intensity even crazier than how they had obtained it. But of course, this was fraud, not magic. People who had paid for homes would sooner or later ask, "Where's the house? Where are the keys? When do we take possession?" And they started coming to collect. Every time someone pressed her, Wang Ti used her acting talents to deflect. She had a whole arsenal of prepared excuses. "Oh, the procedures on the leadership's end are being processed slowly. Please be patient and wait a bit longer." Or, These days, they're running strict inspections up there. My father says it's not convenient to do anything right now. These excuses sounded reasonable, especially to people who already believed she had connections to officials. If any party pressed too hard, showing impatience and beginning to suspect, Wang would use another tactic. She would take money from newly scammed victims and transfer a few $100,000 to the person demanding answers, saying it was compensation from the developer for delayed delivery. And if anyone truly couldn't take it anymore and demanded to cancel the transaction and get their money back, Wang had ways to handle that too. Your money has already been submitted upstairs. Getting a refund now requires administrative procedures, 3 months at the fastest. Just like that, Wang used money from later victims to silence earlier ones, using one lie to cover another. During that period, Wang was completely immersed in the fantasy world she had built with her own hands. She enjoyed the feeling of being respected by everyone, surrounded by friends, regarded as a person of consequence. She was addicted to the pleasure that money brought, wanting anything and having it, spending endlessly. There's a saying, a lie told 1,000 times still can't become truth. And the truth finally emerged at the end of 2010. It started with a victim from the entertainment industry. This person urgently needed a home to live in, had paid long ago but had waited and waited with no sign of progress. He repeatedly contacted Wang to ask about the timeline, but each time received only promises and excuses for delays. Once, twice, 3 times. His patience gradually ran out, replaced by suspicion beginning to take root. Finally, he decided to personally drive to the Swan Bay sales office and meet directly with a sales representative to get to the bottom of things. When he mentioned the internal inventory and brought up the name Wang, the sales rep's reaction hit him like a thunderbolt. The salesperson looked at him with surprise and said, "Sir, our project has never had anything called internal inventory. All units are sold publicly and transparently, and we've never had an employee or partner named Wang. Could you have been scammed?" Those words were like a bucket of cold water thrown directly in his face. He stood frozen in place, feeling like the sky was crashing down on his head. The news spread at lightning speed among the group of people who had paid money to Wang. They began contacting each other, holding emergency meetings to compare information. It turned out everyone was in the same situation. Each had paid enormous sums, but no one had a real contract in hand. No one had received keys. No one even had any legal documentation proving their transactions were legitimate. The fraud had completely unraveled. Only now did those stars, those champions, those celebrities in arts and sports realize with shock that they had been led around by the nose by one woman for so long. They had fallen into an extremely sophisticated and carefully designed trap, set by none other than someone they had considered a close friend. Immediately, the group of victims went to the police to file a report. When Wang heard the news that everything had been exposed, she panicked to the point where she could think of nothing else but one single thought: grab all the remaining money in the accounts and run as fast as possible. And what about Olympic champion Xiaoqin? All this time, he had been comfortably lying in the beautiful dream Wang had woven for him. A wealthy girl, an official's daughter, madly in love with him and willing to spend freely to pamper him. He had just relaxed and enjoyed himself, continuing to spend that dirty money without ever questioning or asking. Only when police knocked on his door did Xiaoqin finally wake up and understand the harsh truth. Wang official's daughter identity was fake, and the luxury cars, expensive watches, enormous sums of cash, all of it was fraud money. Xiaoqin was both horrified and furious, but he quickly regained his composure and made what he considered the smartest choice in this situation. He immediately severed all ties with Wang, declaring everywhere that he knew absolutely nothing about the fraud, that he himself was just a victim who had been used by Wang. To prove his innocence, Xiaoqin even proactively cooperated with police, providing detailed information about Wang whereabouts. When some victims came to Xiaoqin, hoping he could help resolve the situation, he looked at them with an indifferent expression and threw out a cold sentence. "Did I tell you to buy a house? Did I force you to hand over money? If you're not satisfied, go ahead and sue me." On March 6, 2011, based on information and leads gathered, police arrested Wang Ti in Dalian, Liaoning province. At the moment of arrest, Wang Ti was at the airport, holding a fake passport with a wheeled suitcase full of cash beside her. She had been fully prepared to board a plane, leave the country, and disappear. But what awaited her at the security checkpoint wasn't a flight to freedom. It was a pair of ice-cold handcuffs. When facing investigators, Wang Ti initially still tried to resist and justify her actions. But when police slammed piece after piece of undeniable evidence onto the table, Wang Ti's legs went weak, and she collapsed right where she stood. The psychological defense she had tried to maintain throughout that time completely crumbled. The results of the police investigation, later announced, shocked everyone who heard them. Over a period of 4 years, from 2007 to 2011, Wang Ti had used a fabricated identity to defraud a total of 27 celebrities in arts and sports. The total amount embezzled reached a staggering figure, over 55 million yuan, approximately 7.7 million US dollars, plus another 2.28 million Hong Kong dollars. But here's the thing. Of that nearly 60 million yuan in fraud money, how much remained? The answer was almost nothing. It had all been completely spent by Wang Ti and Xiaoqin long ago, buying luxury goods, purchasing high-end cars, and especially gambling at casinos. When police attempted to recover assets, they found almost nothing of significance. In December 2013, after a long period of investigation and case preparation, the Beijing No. 2 Intermediate People's Court officially opened trial on this case. Wang Ti appeared in court with a haggard, gaunt face, bearing no trace of the glamour of the woman once celebrated in high society circles. Facing undeniable evidence and a long list of victims, she admitted to all her crimes. After considering the serious nature of the case, the enormous amount embezzled and the consequences left behind, the court sentenced Wang Ti to life imprisonment for the crime of fraud. Additionally, all her personal assets were confiscated. The woman who had dreamed of using marriage and lies to climb to life's peak ultimately found her destination to be the cold walls of a prison where she would spend the rest of her days. Zhu Shuang, the person who had helped Wang Ti create fake documents, was also sentenced to 5 years in prison as an accomplice to fraud. When this grand drama's curtain fell, it had dragged down and changed the fates of everyone involved. No exceptions. Xiaoqin, although there wasn't sufficient evidence to prove he directly participated in the fraud, was not criminally prosecuted. But that didn't mean he escaped public judgment. The scandal of being kept by a woman using fraud money, combined with his cold, irresponsible attitude after everything came to light, made internet users furious. People cursed him mercilessly, calling him shameless, a man without character. The athletic career Xiaoqin had built over many years also went up in smoke. Not long after the incident, Xiaoqin quietly announced his retirement in silence and gradually disappeared from public view. But perhaps the most surprising part of this entire story came from someone unexpected. Wang Sheng, the ex-husband, the man who had loved Wang Ti to his very bones and was also the most deeply hurt. When he received the call from police informing him about the case, Wang Sheng decided to use his own money to try his best to compensate the victims of the fraud. However, this case still leaves a big question that many people continue to debate. Was Xiaoqin, who benefited from nearly all of the fraud money, let off too lightly? He said he didn't know the money came from fraud, but can an ordinary person really believe that his girlfriend had tens of millions to spend without ever questioning where it came from? What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.